Next Tuesday, you've got Living Loud with Andy on YouTube, and we'll see you next time.
Well, let's start. Man, what kind of made you want to get into car audio, or was it audio in general? Or is it, what was the spark flame, something that you can remember wanting to just walk down this path?
It's kind of an accident, actually. So let's go way back to high school. So I was in high school, I was living in Colorado, and my guidance counselor in high school realized that I wasn't really loving high school. And she said, hey, Aaron, we've got a community college over here. It's called Front Range Community College. And they've got a program where you can study electronics and get credit for going to high school, but you go there for a half a day every day. What do you think about that? I said, yeah, that sounds great. So I started going to the community college half days in high school, and that's where I learned electronics. And I had a great group of instructors and a great group of friends, and we just really got into it, and it kind of became a natural sort of thing for me. And then when I graduated high school, I decided to go on to the community college and get my associate's degree in electronics and automated systems, robotics essentially. And after I got out of school, I went to a temporary agency, and there's a lot of high-tech companies in and around that area in Colorado. And so I did some temp work for various companies, and I discovered that I liked electronics, but I liked people more than I liked electronics. And so one fall, a friend of mine who was also in the electronics program, he was working at a stereo store in Fort Collins, and it was called Soundtrack. And it was kind of a premium audio, video, and car audio kind of store. And they were looking for seasonal help. And so my buddy said, hey, man, you can come do this, do it for a couple of months, and just kind of try it out and see what you think. So I went through the hiring process. True story, Andy. And after I went through a couple of interviews and had to get a personality test, it's called a Myers-Briggs personality test. And they basically want to see, is this guy going to be good at sales or not? And so when the test came back, the store manager said, Aaron, they're actually recommending I don't hire you because you're not going to be good at sales. But I need the help, so I'm going to hire you anyway. So I'm like, oh, great. So I'm your second choice date to the prom, and you're going to take me to the prom. Right?
Hey, at least you got your foot in the door,
I did. So it turns out that I really liked being in sales, and I loved car audio. And so it just kind of came together, and I had to learn how to do sales. I wasn't great at the beginning, but I liked doing it. And actually, and you can appreciate this, I was that sales guy that wanted you, my customer, I wanted you to know everything I knew about every product in the store. So I'm telling you how many windings are on the transformers, what kind of output device, and the customer's like, I don't care, I just need an amplifier, please.
Yeah. But you know what? It's better to have it that way than, the salesman just says, here, just use this and trust my gut, rather than just everything.
I had a handwritten spreadsheet of all the output impedance of all the source units, the RCA output impedance. I had the signal to noise ratio of all the tape decks, and this is back when we had tape decks. So yeah, dude, it was way too much. So that's how I got into car audio and fell in love with it.
Wow. That's awesome. I always kind of wanted to work at a stereo shop. I mean, where I'm at now, it's kind of like, I'm okay. It's a lot of work, and I praise the guys that do it because it is a lot of work, but they get to enjoy it too, to a degree. I just like, putting it together and then just playing it. I like the playing it part more, but man, sales and talking to people, absolutely, man. I know back in the day, whenever I was looking for a job, I actually tried working at Best Buy. I think I was like 20. I tried, and I wanted to be an install tech, and they told me since I didn't have any certifications that they would put me in sales, and I was like, okay, cool. And then long story short, I wound up just being a car salesman instead.
Would you look at that? Oh my gosh, just look at it. Just look at it.
But I almost went down that route, and I should have done it. I should have done it, and I went for the quick, easy money, you know. And with sales, you know, you're selling stuff, you get paid commissions and stuff.
Yeah.
But that is awesome. Now, what year was that you started that after college and got the job in the shop?
So before I answer that question, if you hear some background music, I am in the Tech Force studio here at Kicker, and about 25 steps to my right, your left, they are designing and building a SEMA show truck. It's got, I think, 6 L715s in it. And so if you hear some banging, that's what's going on. So I apologize now.
Did you say 15s?
Yeah.
Spoiler.
615s. Yeah, there's 615. I won't tell you which ones. 6 L715s in it. L715s.
You know, I was going to go to SEMA, and then after the wedding, I mean, you were there. You were the one that married us. You understand, it's a lot, and the kids are crazy, and there's always next year. I think that'll definitely be on the bucket list for sure. Been dying to go to Vegas and SEMA and just, you know, witness that. I think that's awesome. But 615s, man, that's awesome. You guys brought the Bronco last year, so this will be interesting.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, both vehicles are going to be there, the Bronco and this pickup they're working on.
You guys are going to be able to fit both of those in the trailer, so Jeremy got it running again, right?
So I had lunch with Jeremy yesterday. We were actually doing a technology fair for 8th graders at Meridian Technology Center here. And so we were having lunch together, and somebody asked him, you know, so what do you do at Kicker? And so he was telling the story of the truck and how he took it off the road, and it's not supposed to go off the road, you know, at 80 miles an hour, cross the highway off the road. And we just got the trailer back, and so the trailer itself is structurally sound, but they have to rework the audio system because it also needs to be repaired. But the tractor itself is not yet ready, so we can't drive our tractor trailer out to Vegas. So they're going to have to use probably a couple different trailers and pickups.
That's crazy. I know the whole, that happened right before Slamology, and just, you know, the whole debacle with that. And, you know, you guys have the coolest trailer.
Yes, we do.
So it's going to take some time to fix. It's okay. Yes, the wall of boom is intense, especially in that one spot. It just rattles your teeth. It's almost too much, and that's coming from me. You know?
you might actually pee yourself just a little bit.
Yes. I can't. Now, what was it? Just, you know, right from the stereo shop to Kicker? Like, where was the progression, and just different shops, and how did that all kind of begin with that?
Okay, so we'll back up because you asked a question, I never answered it. So I graduated high school in 1990, went on to get my technical degree, graduated in 1992, and then started working for, that fall I started working for the stereo shop, Ultimate Electronics. Back then it was called Soundtrack. Anyway, so I worked there for several years, and then the company started expanding, and we opened a store in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so I applied to move down there and work for them down in that store. And they said, yeah, absolutely. So I went down, moved down to Albuquerque with a couple of my buddies. We opened up this new store, and I was there for about a year. And then another opportunity opened up in Boise, Idaho. Same company, opening another store. And so I applied up there. So I moved up to Boise, Idaho. I was there for another year, maybe 2 years. So quite a little bit moving around. And then I kind of got burned out. And I said, you know what? I need to go back to Colorado and be close to my family, close to my core group of friends. So I moved back to Colorado, worked in another store in Boulder, Colorado. And then actually we parted ways. And I won't say a whole lot about it, but I'll say that I was fired by one of my best friends, and we're still friends today. So there is a right way to fire your friends.
Yes, Mr. Coach, for you. You're fired! Okay.
Yes, that's surprising. I can't get over how far you traveled just to be an installer at these shops, you know.
Oh, no,
Mexico.
not install.
Oh,
not
just
install. Always sales.
Just sales.
Yeah, straight up sales, yeah.
I feel like, you know, like, at least the shops around me, it's like the guys that are doing sales, they're installing too, you know.
Yeah, and that's true of a lot of shops, Andy. That's true.
And I feel bad. I'm like, I wish I could help you out. I'll do the sales part. You do the installing. You know, I just can't do it. I wish I could.
And I tell my friends all the time, you don't want me installing your system. I'll design it for you, but I'm not installing it for you because that's not what I'm good at. So
right,
yeah.
I know. I tried to get good at it. Trust me. Like the builds I do, I'm doing a lot more work than a normal installer would have to. I'm struggling. You know, it's just it's not our cup of tea. But still, you got to know how it works, and I like that the ins and outs of how things work.
Yes.
But still, though, just traveling, you know, bringing your family, or I'm sure you were maybe single at the time, or you said your family, right? No, single. So you were.
No, I was successfully single.
Whew, that's tough. That's awesome, though.
Let's just say I wasn't playing hard to get. I was playing hard to want.
That's a new one. I love it. Yeah. No, but that is awesome. You know, literally traveling across the nation to just you know, do car audio. You know, that's a lot of money, getting up, moving around, and just doing all that stuff. So you went up to Idaho, Colorado, well, New Mexico, Idaho, Colorado,
back to Colorado.
And then is Kicker in Colorado? Is that where it ended, or how'd that go?
No. So my next, basically after my good friend, after he fired me, essentially, after he fired me, I took some time off, and I had made, I'm just going to say, I made a lot of money. So I had a lot of money in my savings account, and I didn't have to work for a while. So I took a year off, and I traveled around. I actually went to Bermuda and had a little vacation for one, which was a great time, and traveled around the country a little bit. Just had a really good time because I was young and single, you know, why not? So had a great time. And then finally, actually a guy from Polk Audio, who was my rep when I was in Idaho, he contacted me. He said, "Hey, Aaron, what are you doing?" And I said, I'm hanging out, nothing really. He said, "How would you like to come work for me?" Yeah, sure. I love Polk Audio. Great speaker, great brand. Back then they had a great car audio program, excellent home theater and hi-fi. And he said, "Here's what I want you to do. I want you to fly to California, rent a car, and I want you to drive up the whole coast. I want you to go all the way up to Seattle and then all the way back down to San Diego, and I want you to be a secret shopper." Say, what? Basically, my job was to go into car stereo stores, to go into Best Buys, into Circuit Cities, and to pretend to be a customer looking for an audio system for my car. They were paying me to be a customer, right? I mean,
is that even a job? Like,
no,
that's not insane.
And they were paying me. So I did this for several months. And basically what they were doing is they were gathering market data, because Polk Audio back then, they were a very powerful but a very boutique type brand, and they were going to launch car audio into Circuit City, if you remember Circuit City back then. Mm-hmm. And so they were gathering market data about the perception of Polk Audio as a brand. They wanted to find out how stores thought about it, what installers thought about it, so they could sort of make this plan, go, okay, now we're going to go into Circuit City and make it go. So that's what I did. And then I went to work for Polk Audio directly. I was basically a sales manager for a territory, plus we did a lot of DB drag racing judging. So we had these Polk Audio demo trucks. My first truck had 8 12s in a sealed enclosure in a extra cab Ford F-150, and a bunch of Alpine amplifiers because they didn't have amps back then. And I drove all the way across the country, back and forth, doing SPL, DB drag racing judging. Mainly at Circuit City stores. And so that was a lot of fun. I did that for 5 years. And then September 11, 2001 happened. I know, it was a gig.
I didn't take you as the big SPL guy. You said 8 12s in a tiny truck. I'm sure that was like a clamshell design, especially back then, to fit all those in there, you know?
Actually, no. Okay, so...
No, okay.
So at the time, Polk was introducing a small box subwoofer. Okay, now I'm a Kicker, right? Kicker invented the Solo Barrett, the small box subwoofer. Well, Kicker didn't patent the small box woofer. So many companies started building their own version of a small box woofer. So Polk had just introduced the It was called the DB series subwoofer. And the 12-inch woofers worked in I think it was 0.75 cubic foot. So I had 8 12s beneath the back window of this pickup. So I could still see out the back window. Yeah.
Wow.
Tiny box with 8 12s in it. And it was mean. And it played low frequencies. Oh, it was beautiful. And I actually had a switch. So with 8 12s, I'm not going to listen to 8 12s all day, every day when I'm driving across country. So I could turn off pairs of woofers with a switch, just shutting down the amplifier, basically.
Oh, wow.
So I could just switch off woofers and play just 2. So
that's kind of cool. Now, if it was separate chambers, it wouldn't work this way, but almost turn it into like a passive radiator setup with the ones that aren't. Play a little lower, you know?
It was 4 separate enclosures, essentially.
Okay. That's cool, though. You know, you don't want all the beans, but, you know, I'm the kind of guy. It's just, you know, I try to pretend like, oh, we're just going to keep the volume about halfway, 3/4. And then, you know, it's just like, turn it all the way up. No matter what setup it is. It's insane. But that's crazy. 5 years you were doing that, just traveling around. I mean, obviously, you know, doing all the other stuff, being a secret shopper, which is insane.
Yeah. It was great.
You know, for car audio, you know, I remember working at Sonic, you know, they'd have secret shoppers coming through the drive-thru making sure you were doing your job. But for car audio, that's insane. And Circuit City, man, you know, I miss the whole Circuit City thing. Like, by the time I went into Circuit City, everything was on discount, you know? And I know they sold a lot of car audio, and Polk audio, I've always had a soft spot for Polk, you know? It reminds me kind of like a JL kind of brand, you know, quality kind of, you know, just in that niche of just car audio. So you did that for 5 years, traveled, went to the DB drag shows at Circuit City, and I'm sure other places. And 5 years of traveling, I know on paper it doesn't look like much, but that's a lot. That's a lot.
It was.
Yeah.
It got tiring.
Yeah, I can tell why you're at where you're at and how you feel, because you've already been there. You've done that, you know.
Yes.
And then there's these guys that say, oh, this guy's saying it's wasted information. Meanwhile, this guy's traveled more than they ever have. All car audio shows.
Oh, yeah, it's a great life, but it's a young man's life. And so I'm getting to be an older young man now.
Well, you're 39 now, right? Yeah, you're getting up there.
Absolutely. Yeah, 39, sure.
That is awesome. So you did that for 5 years, traveling. Now, Polk Audio, how much longer did you work for them after that? And I know Kicker's coming down the line, but that's a lot of experience. No wonder Steve gave you the job.
Well, September 11, 2001. I know some of our audience won't remember how important that is to our history, but I lived through that. September 11, 2001, the World Trade Centers were attacked, the Pentagon was attacked, and they were trying to attack the White House. And fortunately, that was thwarted by some very brave men and women in that airplane. So that changed the whole world. We didn't know what was happening. Sales went through the floor. And we had 4 rounds of layoffs at Polk Audio. And shortly after CES, which would have been 2002, January 2002, I was laid off February of 2002. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do something totally different. I got into bartending. I did some property management. I had a friend who has some telephone stores, and I used to sell cell phones for him. So I just got completely out of the car audio industry and never thought I would get back into it. But then the guy that hired me at Polk Audio, he calls me. I'm looking at my phone going, Greg Lou? I haven't seen Greg Lou in years. Why is he calling? Oh my gosh, I am moving to Oklahoma. Hey, Greg, how's it going? Man, I haven't talked to you in a while. You know, so all this is running through my head. And I knew that he was at Kicker because he had moved to Kicker years and years before. And so, sure enough, he was calling and said, hey, are you available? They've got a training position open at Kicker, and I'd like you to apply. So I said, you know what? I'd love to. Can I still live in Colorado? He said, nope. If you want to work at Kicker, you got to live in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And I said, no, thank you. He said, Aaron, let me fly you to Stillwater, show you around, meet the people of Kicker, see the town, and then you can tell me yes or no. So I flew down to Stillwater. Actually, I flew into Tulsa. We didn't have an airport in Stillwater back then. Flew into Tulsa, I got picked up, and I met the company. And actually, Steve Irby knew who I was before I knew who he was. I'd never met him before. And he introduced himself. I'm like, wow. Hi, Mr. Irby. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for the opportunity. And I'd made the decision before I left that I was going to take the job. So here I am, 16 years later.
Even if you didn't decide before then, maybe heading down there, you would have changed your mind anyway, you know?
Yeah. Well, Kicker, I mean, for the guys that don't know, Kicker is the gold standard for employers in our industry. And anybody I meet who works for any other brand, undoubtedly they say, man, you have got the best company to work for. Yes, I do. It's wonderful.
I believe it. I seen every gear and just how you guys run as a corporation, but yet as friends and family, you know,
Yes.
it's different. It really is. You can't describe it in one detail, what it is. But right, I know. And you know, I try to per se compare it to other, not brands, just specifically car audio, but just in life. Whenever I go somewhere, I'm like, man, you know what, this service is not good, and the customer needs to be right sometimes, you know.
Sometimes, yes.
Yes.
The customer is always right.
So that's cool that that was your boss at Polk Audio that wound up going down to Kicker and hired you down there. That is insane. Man, small world, really, you know. And that's one heck of a journey, you know. Whenever you stop doing something and then you kind of just, that fire just gets ignited again, which is that doesn't normally happen. And there you are. I mean, you had plenty of experience. It's like, hey, you know, it's like calling Ben Roethlisberger. Hey, you ready to play again? Absolutely, get back out there.
Well, you know, a funny side note here. So I was working for a friend of mine who owns a property management company. His name is Paul. And I said, hey, Paul, I got to tell you, I got this opportunity and I want to tell you about it. And I want you to talk me out of it. So I told him, and he's like, Aaron, I'm never going to pay you that much. And you're never going to travel the world working for me. Take that job. Wow. So, okay, I'll do it. So he really helped convince me. He's a good friend of mine to this day.
That's so cool, you know. And when you said, you know, as soon as you got there, you're gonna be traveling the world, and that's what you do now. So you've literally had the same job title this entire time, and that's a high job title there. So, and just to be able to talk to people, and I know you, John, and now Jacob Lee Lucky, you guys all do the same thing pretty much, right? And Carlos, I always forget Carlos. I always do. I felt so bad. I've seen them on 5-star. I didn't even recognize Carlos sitting there. I'm like, oh, Carlos is there too. I can't.
Well, so when I started here, I wasn't on the leadership team yet. We had a different boss, but when he retired about 5 years ago, that's when I was asked to be on the leadership team. So I started out as regular trainer, and then 5 years ago I was elevated to the manager of the team. So it's basically the same job. Now I just have to herd the cats.
Yes,
that's all.
John, get off your butt! Come on, let's go. Let's go.
Well, John's in Hawaii right now.
Is that where he is? I knew he was going to be gone. Okay.
Yep. Carlos is
right?
in Florida. No, John's working in Hawaii. Carlos is working in Tampa, and Jacob is working in Orlando, Florida. So my whole team is traveling this week.
Wow. So I got you all alone. Perfect time to get you then.
It is. I got nothing else to do, Andy.
Hey, you know what? I'll take it. You know, second option, just like you were like, just like you. I'll take it, man. And no, that's awesome. You know, just to be able to travel the world and just, you know, I don't know exactly what you guys do. I know you guys travel. John told me a little bit. You know, you guys get to have a little bit of gallivanting after you do your work for a day and, you know, sightsee. But what do you guys actually do whenever you go to Africa, Hawaii, Tampa, and all these other places? What do you actually do?
So, well, here's a good example, a fun example. So in this spring, early in the spring, late winter, early spring, I traveled over to Europe, and we were doing a European Kicker Marine specific training tour. So the sales manager and I, we flew over to France, and then we traveled by train to one of the coastal cities, Nantes. And we were working with a new distributor. So they are a Kicker Marine distributor So they basically are building boats as well as working with other boat builders, and they're installing Kicker marine gear into these boats. And so the reason we were there was to teach them about Kicker product, technology, which speaker works with which amplifier, how to design a basic audio system, the watts and woofers and ohms, everything they need to know to be successful putting Kicker speakers and amplifiers into these boats that they're building. And so we did that in France, we did it in Germany, we did it in Italy. Is that it? I think there's another one. Anyway, so we did it in several countries, and then we came home. So that's really what we do, is we teach our retail partners and distributors how to use Kicker product effectively and to be successful with it.
You know what? And I think that's so important because, it's one thing to carry a brand, and I know you guys got a lot of Kicker dealers and shops all across the world. Now, every single one of them might not be a pro. And if they're not understanding the equipment, how can they refer which equipment to use? Because some things get confusing. You can be an installer, but you might not know every tier of what this product actually does or it doesn't do. And to know that and have knowledge is power. It really is. And I think it's crazy that Steve does that, where he sends you guys all over the world, just saying, hey, how's everything going? Let's see. Okay, yep, let's just talk about this. And then, I bet you 9 times out of 10, every time you go to one of these places, they've learned something. I know some of it might be repeat, but it's nice to be fresh, but still, a lot of people are learning something.
Well, and here's a really simple but powerful point. If you're using car audio fuses in the marine environment, you're asking for major problems. And it's a really simple difference. A marine grade fuse will not produce a spark when it blows. Now, why is that important? Because in a lot of installations in a boat, your amplifiers are in the same airspace as your fuel cell. So you might have gasoline vapors surrounding your amplifiers. Well, if you pop a fuse and it's a car audio fuse, all of a sudden you've got a giant fire in your boat. And obviously that's bad. So a marine fuse, when it pops, it's ignition protected. There is no explosion to ignite fumes.
I didn't even think of that. I thought, corrosion, just that's why. No, for the spark. And I mean, that's just like anything. You're pumping gas. It's not, it's from the spark. It's not from the fire per se. Yes. Yeah. That's insane. And I know you guys got those fancy marine fuses and fuse blocks and everything. And, and you guys even have that on the Bronco. Am I right? Is that?
Well, yeah, it's because these fuses are really cool. We have a fuse holder, and this is not supposed to be a product. Here, buy this. But our marine fuse holder, it literally bolts to the positive terminal on the battery. So your fuse is not 18 inches from the battery; it's on top of the post. So there's no opportunity for flaming hot wire for 18 inches. Wow, so it's a fantastic product. And
no kind of ignition.
No, and it's a fuse distribution block, and the fuses just stack, and it's a great product. So there's a lot of uses for it.
It looks beautiful. I know, like I didn't even know the other day, or not the other day, other month or so. Well, actually, probably about a half a year ago. I didn't even know until then that you guys actually carried lugs, and they're in the marine section.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I started, really looking at all the marine stuff. I'm like, man, there is a lot here that you could use for car audio, and you guys did it, and it's awesome. And even the amps are marine too. We're not going to say that though. in the Bronco, I was like, how did you get? Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's why it's red. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I need to change mine blue. That'd be cool.
Just a little custom work. That's all.
Yes. You know what? And that's the cool thing about audio is, you can go with just the prefabricated of anything, any level, and then the customization, it depends how much time you want to put into it, and you can go crazy. The possibilities are really endless, and we see it every day.
Well, and that's one of the things I love about car audio specifically is the creativity. I mean, the guys and girls watching this show, you guys and girls, you're so creative. You turn your car, your Jeep, your van, whatever it is, you turn into a mobile audio system, but you also make it look amazing. It could be just custom wheels and nice paint. It could be an enclosure that raises up out of the back. And I mean, there's all sorts of great things that we see with guys and girls doing. And so it's just the artistic expression in car audio is incredible. And that's one of the things I really love about it.
Absolutely. I know. It's like, I feel like I kind of go crazy, and I'm like, man, you guys got to go to these shows. I am nothing crazy compared to a lot of these guys. It's really insane. And you're right. They're artists in a way.
Yes.
It's crazy, man. It really is. And then there's the guys that just throw it together, and that's fine too, because we all start somewhere, or we only want to go so far into it. That's, car audio. I'm just a little crazy, obviously. You are too. You do it for a living, but maybe with fish tanks. I'm not doing a podcast about fish tanks and always talk about fish tanks. But I like them too, and there's that level that I'm going, and that's it.
Well, and this is a great question for whenever I interview somebody on Unmasked. I'll always ask them, what was your first car audio system? What bug bit you? And so you just said, for the guy and girl that's just throwing a system together, that's great, because we all have to start somewhere. So I'm going to tell you where I start, okay? And I'm not embarrassed about this, but I'm humbled by this. My first system, I had a 1983 Nissan Sentra two-door. Okay, this is not a shag and wagon. Okay, this is basic transportation. This is a washer and dryer that gets you to work and school, and that's it. Okay, but what do? I customize it. So I had pyramid 6x9 woofers, monster magnets, no tweeter, just a cone, 6x9 woofers, and I put them on top of the rear deck, the package tray in my car, not in an enclosure. Nope. I put them on top of it, and I wondered why they didn't make bass, okay? In addition, my front door speakers, Jensen dual cone two-way speakers.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're not talking a tweeter, we're talking a whizzer cone. So you've got a 5 1/4 inch, and then you've got a whizzer cone, and the whizzer cone simply vibrates faster than the mid-range, making high frequencies. So that's my door speakers. Then, here's my radio. It is the Optimus, the house brand of Radio Shack. Optimus 2-shaft radio. Okay, a 2-shaft radio, and has like a 4-slider EQ, right? With all 4 sliders pushed up to make it louder, right? I push them all up to make it louder. And then here is the best piece of the whole system. A 4-channel EQ booster noise generating device. So it is a graphic EQ with little sliders, and it claims like 200 watts, but it's fused at 10 amps. And it goes like this. It's just a noisy SOB.
Wow. Hey, it's bumping something up. I don't know about the sound.
That's my first system.
That's crazy. And as soon as you said about putting the speakers on the top deck, I did the exact same thing. Yes. I went to Walmart, I bought a Lightning Audio sub, a 10-inch, didn't buy the box, and I just, hooked it up. And I'm like, why is this not, the magnet held it pretty good, it works.
Why is there no bass?
Yeah, this is not as good as I anticipated. And I feel like that's where some people might get deterred, where they don't know what they're doing, and then the results are poor, and that's where we all step in, and it's crazy.
That's right. That's why you and I have something to do every day.
Absolutely, man. And there's always going to be the new guys stepping up, and I try to reel them in as fast as I can. It's like, let me help you out there.
Yes.
Gotcha, man.
I'll be your big brother to help you out with your audio system.
Exactly. And you know what? Sometimes it's been where it's just, they surpass me, in just what they're doing. They go kind of crazy with the SPL, and it's like, yeah, I helped with that. I got that started. And, I never say it, but it's just like, heck yeah, man, that is awesome. Just because, some people, I feel like it just comes down to the drive, and finance is big time, man.
Yes.
But you got to want to do it, and you got to know how to do it. It's the perfect, trifecta, and then boom, you're good.
Yeah. Well, when I do a training with a group of guys. If it's the first time I've met them, we'll do an icebreaker, and I'll go around the room and say, okay, everybody, I want you to tell me who you are, what you love about car audio, and tell me about your very first audio system. And you get some great stories from everybody because we all started somewhere rather humble.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few guys that they had money and their mom and dad bought them a great system, you know. And
Yeah, well, my father's stereo is a Bose.
Your father's stereo blows? That's too bad.
No!
but most of us, it was real basic, humble beginnings. We all started somewhere. So that's a great way to get started with a group of guys.
Absolutely, and even the guys that don't have the humble story with speakers on their rear deck, you know, just strapped in, bridged at 16 ohms, whatever have you, you know, and those guys are blessed, and I feel like a lot of these guys today that are starting out are super blessed because there is so much information about this stuff out there. Meanwhile, you know, I didn't even know about the Steve Mead, you know, Reddits or anything like that. Like I didn't get into that. I didn't have internet at my house. I was like the last kid to get it. Okay.
Me too.
You know, so
Yep.
this is why we jive, Aaron. This is why. And it's just, they are spoiled, but in a good way. And I don't know. I feel like, you know, with everything of just how it's become today, it's become the standard. And I don't know. It's just, it's really amazing. It just, everything that car audio has accomplished since the beginning. I mean, you graduated in 1990. I mean, I feel like that's when car audio was really starting to boom. So when you were pulling up into high school, I bet you a few kids had some pretty crazy stereos in their cars.
Yeah. There actually, I remember one guy had a 6-inch bazooka tube. I couldn't believe it. It sounded amazing. 6-inch woofer in a plastic tube, and it banged. Now, of course, by today's standards, you know, it's nothing. But in 1990, I'm like, that is incredible. Wow.
Right.
And the first time I heard a real subwoofer system was two impact brand 12-inch subwoofers in a IROC Z Camaro, and I went, oh my God, I need to have that. It was just incredible performance. And so that was really like, okay, what I've got is terrible. I need to upgrade.
I need to redo all of it, please.
Yep.
I know, whenever I was in high school and driving around, like I was like there was like maybe like one other person that had a system that I knew. Like it just wasn't big. I mean, this was 2008. This was the dip. And I feel like that's kind of why I went under the radar for as long as I did, just because it wasn't as popular. And I didn't even know about all the mecha shows that were going on because internet really wasn't that big of a thing. You know, there weren't mecha car audio groups or Kicker Club or anything like that. But, you know, there always was that one guy's system. My buddy Brian, he had this Camaro, not the IROC, but same-ish year. It was like the early 90s. Not the newer 90s, the older 90s. So this car looked like Batmobile. Like he had a little bit of custom work done to it, but he had all Sony Explodes in there. Custom, it was like a no wall, but some subs were fired forward, some were up. Like it was just... It looked like something on Fast and Furious, and it was the coolest thing, and it sounded really good. And I was like, "Ooh, I need something like that." And that kind of pushed me further to go more into it than just an amp and a subwoofer. Let's get an amp for the mids and highs. Let's add a lead acid in the back of the car because that makes sense. But at the time, it did because I didn't know about AGMs or any kind of different chemistries. Yeah, you just put another battery in the car, just make sure it doesn't spill over. You'll be good. That's what my dad said, you know?
That's right. We all started somewhere.
Absolutely. I know. I had a few pictures here. Now, I tried to go back into the DeLorean here. What year? This was 2013 or 2014, I believe. What was the first year that you did CES?
Oh my gosh. Probably 2008.
2008. Wow.
2008, yeah. Or maybe 2007. No, actually, it was 2007 because I started in August of 2007. September. So yeah, it was 2007. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. January 2008. Yes, it was 2008.
Wow. So now, was the Solo X at SEMA for that year, or that was the year before? If it might have been the 07 Black Cone. I'm trying to think. Because that would have been like right around that. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's long ago. I don't remember.
John Lomax here with Aaron Mailin over by this big wall of massive square woofers. Bringing them back, man. What is it?
Well, the L7 has been around for 7 years now, and we've completely redesigned it for 2008. Some of the Solo X, the really high-end kicker square subs, we brought that cone material into the L7 lineup. We changed the motor structure, the magnet, a lot of good stuff going on in here. And if you can see it up close, you can see this excursion's going crazy right here.
Man, we can feel it right here. I don't know if you can hear it on the audio, but you can feel it while you're standing next to it. And these poor amps down here, man, they've had to take the covers off of them, and they're kicking out some major heat. But these L7s are keeping up with every bit of it. And these things have been going for what, like 3 days now?
Yeah, we've been driving these guys for 3 days, and you can touch the backside, the motor structure, it's room temperature. These things dissipate a ton of heat with no problem.
Yeah, it's crazy. This was the original L7 display, right? When you guys first introduced the square product, this was the one that you brought it out on.
That is correct. We actually had to redesign it back at the shop a couple weeks ago to fit the new woofers into it, build some new uprights. But it's a beautiful display. We love it.
Well, let's go in the tunnel and take a look at this brand new L7 a little bit closer.
Let's do it.
Everybody in the industry is really excited about the Solo X. It's the biggest thing out there. It's really doing a lot. And you've brought some of that great technology right into the L7 line.
That's right, John. What we've done is taken the Solo X cone, and we brought it down to the L7 and the L5 lineup. So you'll see the family resemblance here. And then moving into the motor structure, you'll notice that we took away our vented pole piece, and we've gone into a more massive structure for better heat dissipation, so it's more efficient cooling. And then we added some more cooling venting here on the spider surround, as well as in the cone itself. So we can actually dissipate more heat more efficiently with the new design.
What are the power ratings of these new L7s?
The power ratings are the same as the last year's version, only they are more efficient at cooling, dissipating that heat.
That's right, and you saw those speakers that have been running for 3 days over on the display wall, and you can go right up to the back of them and touch them. I wouldn't try that with anything else.
No, that is brutal. Yeah, there's some imitators out there, but this is the original and the best.
Well, Aaron, thanks for showing us this great new L7 design. We wish you the best of luck with it. Great to see you here at CES 2008.
Thank you, John. We appreciate your time as well.
That is insane, and you're still doing it now. You know,
Yep.
This was you last year, which was awesome.
That interviewer, he was so good. I forget his name. He was so good. Do you know that guy? Do you know his name?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I just had the video up here. Let's see here. Let's not play breakers and stereo. Let's make sure this doesn't play.
Yeah, he was great. He came by the booth at SEMA last year.
Yeah.
And we did a rundown together.
Yeah, I watched that whole video. That was good. You know, it's so cool to see not people that I don't know, but kind of, you know, that are into this field, and it's like, oh wow, they're doing content too. It's good content, and they're going to all these shows and asking, you know, and it just I don't even know how to explain it really, you know, because there's a lot of content creators nowadays like me, but there's still people like that are actually out there on the field doing these, I guess you would call it old school interviews, you know, going out to this place and recording and getting your, you know, just at these CES electronic shows and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's still going on. I've never been to one. I need to, you know, it's just got the ball rolling late there. That's all.
Well, part of the challenge with non-industry people is they're industry trade shows. So you can't actually go unless you're affiliated with a brand. So if you were to go, you'd have to go basically as a kicker employee or a kicker guest or something like that. So for guys and girls that are wondering, well, can I just fly to Vegas and go? No, you can't, because it's an industry specific show. It's not open to the public. You have to be officially affiliated with a brand or someone who's presenting there.
One thing you kind of forget is that it's not open to the public. Well, you wouldn't believe it because you go inside, there are so many people here, but to actually get in, you have to be legit. You either have to be a buyer, a distributor, or like us, a news reporter.
Oh, yeah.
To get one of these, a badge. But I think this year you can also get in if you have your own blog.
Absolutely.
So that's CES, not SEMA. SEMA is more of a
no,
public.
No,
Both.
SEMA's not public. No.
What?
SEMA,
I thought that was public. How'd Bubba get in then? Did you guys let him in through the back?
Well, that I don't know, but so in the last, I want to say 2 or 3 years, the 4th day of SEMA, they have opened it up to the public, but only the 4th day, and you have to buy a ticket. I'm not sure how much the tickets are,
Wow.
so that may be how those folks got in. Now, a lot of guys that build cars for SEMA, like guys that build with us or for us, of course, we will get them tickets because they have to be there to show their cars and,
Right.
and to interact. So there are ways to get in there, but just so everybody watching knows, you can't just fly to Vegas and walk in because it is an industry-only show.
Wow. See, I didn't even know that. I really didn't know that. I thought it was at least for SEMA. I figured CES was more of a, closed
No, they're both
audience. Yes. Wow, that is insane. So I guess maybe one day I can get there, but I'd have to have a pretty good reason, I guess.
Yeah, well, contact Ernie and just make sure in advance that you've got it all worked out.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I'm glad I didn't wait, or I'm waiting till next year so we can actually plan it out. That's perfect. See, that's crazy. Every day with anything, I love learning different stuff. And the show, what we're doing here today, and it's awesome. The more you know, the more you find out you really don't know. You don't know anything.
That is a paradox, but I totally agree with you, man. The older
Yes.
I get, the more I realize how little I actually know.
Yep. It's terrible, but it's great at the same time because you're learning more,
Yes, yes. Yeah.
I know. I feel like we kind of covered everything. I mean, Aaron, is there anything else that you would like to say? I mean, this guy here, Aaron, really took the helm of the Unmasked show and in dire times, and you and John have been killing it, and everybody else on the crew, man. And I just want to applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do great, and I mean, being able to hang out with you more so the second year at Kicker, and having you marry me and Kayla, it was the most coolest thing in the world. I can't get over it still. It's just like, yeah, we did that. Yes, but it was an awesome time, and thank you for just kind of being here and hanging out with me. I know this isn't live, guys. It's not live, but we got Aaron here. Aaron's a very busy man. This guy was traveling all over the world. Now he's got his family, wants to stay at home. I can relate. I feel you on that. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm not doing this, and I'm just gonna go and hang out with the kids and go play out in the garage and just kind of just shut it off.
Well, yeah, at 5:01 p.m. I become dad and husband, and
yes,
that's what I do. And if I do the show on a Tuesday night, then I go home after work, I hang out with the family, then I come back to work, and then I go home, and they're asleep. But
I know that's the tough thing about it. I know even after like my live stream, sometimes Kayla will still be up. I'm like, you're still up?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Go to sleep. Well, but before I go, I do want to thank you, Andy, because you probably don't understand fully the impact that you have on the industry. And I'm not talking just Kicker. Obviously, you're a Kicker fanatic, and I appreciate that. But as an industry, one of the challenges we have is attracting new people into the car audio world. And it can be intimidating, especially if you go, some car clubs feel kind of exclusive. Cars and Coffee really helps people with that culture because they're very welcoming, very inviting. But because we need more men and women, especially women, thank you, Kayla, for getting involved in the industry, people like you have a much broader audience, and so you can appeal to people who otherwise would not be interested in car audio. So I appreciate what you bring to the industry as a whole, and thank you.
Absolutely, and I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody, and I appreciate it, and I feel like that's the thing that people don't talk about. It's just we're out here trying to bring people in, but we do it because we love it, and it's just You're absolutely right, man. You know, and I can understand from a business perspective, you know, where you're trying to bring people in, but you want to bring people in organically, and I feel like that's what we do. And thank you so much, Aaron. Big time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. You're a big part of it, and I appreciate that.
Hey, you know, to be affiliated with Kicker, I know I get all the time. People think I work for the place. I'm like, I don't work there, but it's close enough. But I'll see what I can do to help you. And you know, but it's been a huge blessing in my life, and you and just everybody, like you said, you know, they want to strive to be like Kicker, the golden standard. 50th anniversary, no pun intended. But literally, yes. So thank you so much for doing this with me, and we'll have to do it again, or maybe, you know, you have to bring me on the Unmasked show when you're working. You know, I like to pick people's brains and let them have them pick yours too, you know?
Oh man, having Joe Hobart on this week, that was so fun. I saw some comments and questions from you. That was a great time. I love Joe, man. That guy's so smart. Holy cow. That was a good time.
And he had an answer for every question. I think that was definitely top 3 on the Unmasked shows all time. It was great.
Good. Well, thank you. We had a great time.
Absolutely, man. You know, I know it's hard to do, you know, in-depth shows like those, like that. It's hard. You know, it's a lot
long.
of prep. Yes. And 90 minutes plus, not even ish, just plus.
And we even blew up something we just bought to test. We blew it up on TV, right?
If you're gonna do it, that's the way to do it.
Woo, that thing stinks.
Yep. Maybe you should buy Kicker. You know, hint, hint. Not the pizza box.
Not the
Pizza's
pizza box
free.
app.
Hey, again, thank you, Aaron, and man, these guys, I hope you got something from this, and yeah, man, we'll have to do this again. Thank you so much for joining us, and you got to send me some pictures of the maybe we'll have to wait till when we can release it, but that 615 build, I definitely want to see a
can't show it till SEMA.
trailer. Till SEMA. Oh,
Yep,
okay, well.
Till SEMA.
I won't send it to anybody, I promise.
Wink, wink. I got some dirt in my eye, huh?
Yeah. It happens to me too all the time. Thank you, Aaron.
All right, Andy.
Appreciate you, man.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Next Tuesday, you've got Live and Loud with Andy on YouTube, and we'll see you next time.